What's up, YouTube? It is your boy Passion, and it is May 15th, 2018, which makes 3 years, 10 months on T. I'm almost to my 4-year mark, July 15th. So that's crazy in itself. But today we're not really going to talk about that. Today I've gotten a bunch of I actually have gotten a bunch of messages over the years, and particularly a couple people a couple of times have either messaged me or even called me to ask me about it because it's basically their defense against the ignorance that the ignorance of being trans. And I don't mean ignorance as in a derogatory or disparaging way. I mean ignorance as in exactly that, which is a lack of knowledge. And a lot of people have a lack of knowledge about what it is to be trans, or the science of it, or they think it's a feeling. It's not. The thing is, science says that trans, they don't know. They don't know exactly what causes us to be trans. They don't. But they do know that there is a cross between a biological, all the studies keep saying it is a combination of biology slash environment that creates the perfect conditions for a person to be trans. So we're going to go a little bit over it, and not a lot, because I'm not a microbiologist, I am not a genealogist, but I've done a lot of study, so I'm going to give you a little tiny bit of rundown. Okay, so we have these things. It's dinonucleic acid, okay? But basically what it is it's DNA. So we'll start with that. This is DNA. Okay, so I don't know if I can actually write backwards, but I'm gonna try for you guys. Which would mean this would be A. So this would be N, and this would be D. Did that work? Hey, that's not bad for writing backwards. Okay, so I'll straighten out the N a little bit. Not much better, but a little bit better. Okay, so this is your DNA, all right? Your DNA goes kind of like this, right? And then you have another one that goes like this. And this is what they call a double helix, all right? And that is actually a really bad double helix. So I'm going to do it again, but basically that's what it is. In fact, I'm not even going to do two different colors because I need to do other colors for other things. So I'm going to do the same color for your double helix. So we have this. Let's just call that your double helix, okay? That is horrible. I don't know why I cannot draw a double helix. Sorry, guys. Let me try it one more time. Maybe I should not try to do it so big. So I'm just gonna go with we'll go this, we'll go this, and we'll go this, and we'll go this. All right, and we'll see if that makes up a little bit. Yeah, that's better. That's better. It's something like that. Let's just put it like that. Okay. It's not. It's more flowy than I did, but basically it's the same thing. So these are your strands of DNA. So your DNA kind of goes like this, and in between there's proteins, and I don't remember the actual name for the proteins, but I know the initials are ATCG because I had to take a test on that twice because I failed once. So I know that it's ATCG are the different G, C, T. So those are your different proteins for your DNA. All right. So, but these little things, they're in between your little helixes. Those are where these proteins are, and they're like little bubbles, kind of, and they contain these proteins. All right. And you'll in those proteins are in those little bubbles, you will find the proteins. Like this one will be A, this one, okay? So you don't have to know what these proteins are to understand this. They discovered this, I don't know how long ago, but it was probably, they really started to break it down in the late 70s, early 80s, I'm pretty sure. I'll have to look it up for sure. But they basically discovered that they broke it all down, and they realized all these proteins were in there and everything else. Okay? Well, about maybe 15 years later, they realized that if these proteins are broken down, and what we'll do here is, this is going to be a kind of a cross section, a blow up of that. All right. So if you have a helix and a helix, okay, this is a breakdown of this. It's a blow up. Then inside there you'll have A, T, C, G. Okay? Those are your breakdowns. All right. Now this is going to be a bigger version of that. So they realized inside of these, like, this is one of these bubbles. Let's go with C, right? C. In there, if you opened it up, which they didn't realize you could do, but once they did, they opened it up, so we'll do half sections, like that. They broke it open like a peel. But inside of there are little switches. Let's just call them, we'll make it like a light switch. When they broke that open, they discovered that in that molecule was like a little light switch. So we'll pretend like that's a light switch, or like it looks like one, right? So, and they realized that there's like an on and off, basically, on the inside of there. And so sometimes during pregnancies, in gestation, these switches that are, when they're supposed to, during certain times, we'll say that we'll blow it up really big, right? And so we'll say that this is on section and this is the off section. Okay? And they realized that sometimes when this switch is supposed to turn on, depending on what's going on, sometimes it won't be. Sometimes it stays in the off position, or when it's supposed to, or when it should be off and it turns on. Now, this is where it gets into the biology of it, biology and environmental. They realize that a lot of these switches are controlled by hormones. All right. Hormones: estrogen, testosterone, and androgen. Androgen is ANDROGEN. I'm putting this specifically because I want you guys to be able to look this up. So it's controlled by basically these are the hormones that control these switches during gestation. All right. So sometimes the person's stress level, a mother's stress level in particular, will be affected by these hormones in whether these switches get turned on or whether these switches stay off. That is where the environmental comes in, because these hormones are released or not released based upon different things like stress. Stress can change how these environmentals, nutrition, medication, and even family situations, which probably goes back to stress. So, I know it's a lot because you have your double helix, all right? You have your proteins, which are broken down. This is what your proteins are, and on the inside of your proteins there's these switches. These switches are controlled. I'm going to pick this up. These switches are controlled by hormones. I'm going to see if I can. These switches are controlled by hormones. These are some of the hormones. These are the hormones. And the hormones can be controlled by any of number of these. So, that is why you have the combination of biology and environment, and that is why you find trans and homosexuality. You find that in familial groupings. It's not genetic. It's not genetic passed down directly as far as they know. But what they do know is genetically, people respond to stress and nutrition and medication, and they respond the same way within families. So you have women who are gestating, whose hormones are being released according to these according to these situations, and they are having similar, their bodies are having similar reactions. So biologically, it's changing us. And it's some switches should be turned on, some should be left off that are getting switched on, some should be on that are staying off. And so you end up with abnormalities, for lack of a better word, like trans people and homosexual people. And it's not that we are wrong at all. We're created. But there is a scientific basis for how we are created. And I just really wanted to get that across. I hope that makes a lot of sense. I'm glad that this isn't like a Facebook Live thing, because you can kind of rewind it and kind of go back. But it does give you a few things. Number one, it gives you validation. You do exist, and there's a reason. You're not crazy. It's not in your head. It's literally a biological basis for who you are and why you are. And if you're not a proud trans person who is kind of, and you're more of a, like I was for you, well, why me? This is kind of why. It doesn't have anything to do with you. It has to do with your biology. It has to do with something that happened while you were being created. So I wanted to make sure that I got that out there, because it helps with that. And it also helps with you being able to defend yourself if you have to. And I don't even try anymore. But whether you're trying to defend yourself or whether you're just sharing some information, it gives you some ammunition to say that there is a reason. And not only that, I can't tell you all the ins and outs, and that's what you can tell them. I'm not a microbiologist. I'm not a genealogist, but I do have a little rundown. So look it up. Feel free. Check it out. Epigenetics. Epigenetics. I gotta do this backwards. I don't know if I can. C-I-T. Well, let's try this. E-P-I-G-E-N. Woo-wee. I don't know if I could do it. I'll try it one more time. I'm going to erase this so I can pay attention, because I got to get this. This is already a long video, but I want you to get this so you can look it up. So I'm going to try it again. E-P-I-G-E-N-E-T-I-C-S. Hey, this is the study of those little. This is the study of those little protein, those little switches inside of the proteins, inside of dinonucleic acid, or DNA. So the study of DNA. The study of DNA. DNA is called epigenetics. So please look it up. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. Look up what I was telling you about the switches. Look what I was telling you about the hormones, and have some firm grasp of who you are and why you are. All right. Love you guys. Thanks for joining me one more time. I'm going to do a more fun video, but I had to get this out of the way. God, I'm hot. All right. Later, y'all.